Today, as I lay here, I try to process what happened. I can't fully comprehend it yet, but I know I am luckiest person alive because I am alive. And the chances of everything lining up like it did is impossible. I just want to say thank you to everybody who prayed for me and who thought of me and who continues to pray for me as I'll make through the recovery. I've seen death in my eyes. I could literally touch it. It's so easy to lose life. It's much easier than you think. Thank you, everybody. Today, as I lay here,
today we're back for part 2 of Val's story. And Val, as a fit 30-year-old triathlon athlete, had a near-death experience. He had a major cardiac event that actually caused death for about 45 seconds. And we're here to explore how that happened to a healthy young man and the implications. So welcome back, Val.
well, thank you for making me 10 years younger.
Well, in your 30s.
30s, yes. I was in my 30s, yes.
Okay, so last time we left off, you started experiencing arm pain to the right arm, if I can recall.
Yeah.
But by that point, you had developed enough mental skills to overcome pain. So you were trying to overcome that pain, as I remember you describe it. So let's pick up there.
All right, so I think where we left off is I was getting ready for my first Ironman. It was a full Ironman, 140 miles. And here I am a day before the Ironman, and I'm starting to experiencing a very burning pain in my arm extending to my chest. And it was something the kind of pain, I've overcame a lot of pain prior to this, but this kind of pain, it was
A
different.
new type?
It was different, yeah. It was very sharp, it was burning, it's kind of like a hard burn, but many times more. And it was just very strong pain, yeah. But knowing what I've been through before, as I said, this is one more obstacle I have to overcome. So here I am, November 2nd, it was the day of the Ironman. And I started out that day again, the pain returned. And it returned for the first 30 minutes at the start of my race. And I had to stop. We started with a swim. Actually, before that, I went on a little run, and that's when that pain started. And probably 30 minutes into that, it slowly went away. Had to stop a couple times and then restart. And so that's how the day started. And then started the race. It started with a swim. It's a 2.4 swim, and it's a big loop. If you've ever been to a beach and there's these big piers coming out to the ocean. And that morning, I mean, the waves are just crushing. And I did open water swims before, but not that distance.
Okay.
And so this was a 2-loop course. We start out and we go around the pier, but you go out about double the distance of the pier.
So you were swimming in the ocean?
In the ocean, yeah.
Wow. Well, which location?
It was...
Was it North Carolina?
No, it was... all right, I'm spacing out right now.
So you had to travel for these competitions?
Yes, it's in Florida. It was in Florida, and I'm going to remember in a second, and I'll tell you.
That's okay.
But, so it's a 2-loop course, and so here I am getting it into the water. What I didn't realize, the current how strong the current was. As I'm swimming out, it's pushing me into the pier. So you have to swim at the angle like this.
Okay.
And so you're swimming at the angle, and that's how you're going straight. But it takes a lot of effort to be swimming straight. But if you're going at the angle, it takes a lot more effort. Probably about first 500 feet or so until you break through all the crashing waves, and then it kind of levels out a little bit. The current is still there, and it's crushing you into a buoys, and it's like all the people there, and it's, like 2,000 plus
Is it a
people.
long turnout? A lot of turnout.
It's I mean it's over 2,000 people in the water. So you're swimming, and it's not just
Wait, they're all swimming at the same time?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. I mean, they're all being let out like every couple seconds. There's 4 people.
Wow.
But it's like once you start swimming, there's always somebody passing. There's always somebody catching to us. So there's thousands of people in the water.
Okay, and the goal is just to complete it. It's not a race, right?
Well, the goal is to complete it, and definitely to complete it is an achievement.
Yeah, but you're not timed. You're not compared to each other.
It's an individual race.
Okay.
So you have your buddies that you're racing with. So the goal is obviously try to get good time.
Okay.
I wasn't a professional athlete. So professional athletes, they do get timed, and they get paid for that and all that. But my goal, it was more of just getting it
Personal,
done.
okay.
But getting out through the swim, it was a very challenging swim. It was 2-loop course, so you do 1 loop, then you get out of the water, you run through the beach a little bit, and then you get back into the water, and then you're going through from horizontal to vertical, so you're also kind of getting dizzy getting out of the water, and then you're getting back into horizontal and you're swimming. So 2-loop course, hour and a half or so of swimming, got out of the water, and then you go in onto the bike. Bike is a 112-mile ride.
Oh wow.
And and so now you're on a bike. It took a little time to get through that transition. Usually your transition times really a couple minutes. I think I took about 10 minutes to take the wetsuit off quickly, get my nutrition, get the bike set up, helmet, and you're off to a bike ride. The bike ride is started out decent. I started out feeling all right, and then
where do you ride? Is there a pathway on the beach?
So no, it's the road. So it's the race has it all planned out. I mean,
close down the streets,
close down roads. There's police. There's directing traffic and all of it. So it's.
And do you have hydration with you?
Yeah. So you have it all on the bike. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. You have it all on the bike. You have your nutrition, hydration, everything. Okay. There's also aid stations where you can stop if you need something at a certain point. I think it's every maybe 20-25 miles. There's an aid station that if you do need something, you can stop and grab it. The point is to keep going, not to stop, because if you do stop, you're losing time. But 50 miles into it, it became scorching hot. And I remember just started being very hot and
this
dehydrated.
was in November in Florida, right?
Yeah, but it was hot, and you're just being dehydrated, and you're drinking, and you have your salts, and you think you have all of the nutrition, but you can just never plan out. You just don't know how your body's going to react to it. And it's like there's 3 things in the sport. It's a swim, bike, run, but there's the 4th discipline that people don't always think about it. The discipline is of a nutrition. If you don't have your nutrition right, you can screw up your whole entire race.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So after that, just stopping after 50 miles, I've been stopping by probably every aid station, grabbing water wherever I can, just pouring myself, try to get myself cooled down. Finished the bike, and then I realized, I'm like, okay, now I got 26 miles of running. And at that point, I started fighting in my head. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to finish it, because at that point I was already really exhausted, already worn out, physically and mentally. And All I could think of is, it's a 2-loop course again on a run. It's a 13.2 miles to do 1 loop, and so if you go out one way and then you come back, you go out, that's your quarter way out. So you're quarter way through the race, through the run, if you just go out one way. So I started thinking about it that way, and started the run. I feel great, and I feel like, well, I think I can do this. And then I see other people already making second loop, looking at them, they're coming back, and I see them, they look miserable. I'm like, why do they look so miserable? I feel like I can do this. But just as I started running, maybe get to mile 6, I was like, started experiencing a lot of cramping. And I experienced cramps before, like in my legs, but this was different. I was experiencing cramping in my stomach and my legs, and everything starts to cramp. And so here I started to question yourself, right even before I got to a turnaround point, which would be a quarter way out. It's like, wow, this is going to be difficult. So slowly started making my way back. Finished my first loop, which is a 13.1 miles half marathon. So I have another 13.1 miles to go. And at this point, I'm really questioning myself. I'm really questioning if I'm going to be able to finish this or not. And
it's really worn out?
Yeah, really just worn out, really cramping, really just mentally exhausting, really just my head is telling me like, you can't do it. You won't be able to do it. You won't be able to finish it. And I was feeling weak on top of just being exhausted, just being abnormally weak. Which right now I realize what was happening with me, which makes sense why I was feeling the way I was feeling. But going into that last loop, I just, with everything in me, I would never quit. And I knew that there was, my family was watching, because there was a live feed of a finish line, but there was also a live tracker.
Okay.
So I knew people were watching. I knew people were rooting for me. And I would just not let, my family down and everybody who was watching. And so I just slowly started making my way out for that last 13.1 miles.
And by slowly, do you mean running slower or walking?
Yeah, just jogging.
Okay.
Jogging, and then as soon as I started jogging, I started cramping again. And on the last probably 6 miles was the most difficult ones, as I've seen people who were just throwing up, and you see people throwing up, and you automatically want to throw up as well. And you're like, okay, that's me. I'm about to throw up. I'm about to stop. Your body's like, you're about to quit, and you're just playing these mental games like, hey, I'll get there and I'll stop again. You're not stopping. You keep going, and then you see people are laying down, and you feel like you're gonna fall right now. You hear ambulance coming, and you feel like that's coming for me. And it's just like the mental barriers are so tough.
It's infectious to see that. You think you're going to be there too.
Yeah, you literally think it's coming for you. Yeah, like I hear an ambulance coming, and I hear it, and in my head, I'm like, okay, it's coming for me. I'm about to fall. I'm about to fall down. Except I'm just like, I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to keep moving.
Wow.
And that's how I got to the finish line. And crossing crossing the finish line, it was, at that point, the adrenaline took over, and across the finish line. And I've seen my other friends that finished prior to me. They're all excited. They're all walking. They're all happy. And here I am. I finished across the finish line, and they grabbed me on both sides of my arms, took me to a medic stand to see what was happening.
So you didn't have energy to celebrate?
I didn't really. Okay. Yeah, I crossed the finish line. The adrenaline really took me across that line. But then I sat down, and I feel like I'm gonna pass out. And I'm feeling really bad. I'm feeling really nauseous. I'm just completely, my face is yellow. And they seen that my friends see something's wrong with me, so they called the medics. They like took me to a tent, started looking, seeing what's going on, what's wrong. So they're like, oh, you're probably dehydrated. Tried to give me electrolytes, give me some other things anyway. So I started feeling a little bit better, but I still feel very nauseous. End of that day, somehow I got into my hotel room. It was like an Airbnb type of deal, and so there's like a room and a kitchen, and I went to sleep, woke up at night, woke up throwing up, and I was just didn't know what was happening with me.
That's never happened before
No.
in any races?
No, that's never happened
And just
before.
to back up for 1 second, the tents that you're describing, the medical tents, do they have like EKGs where they can check your heart?
They don't have EKGs, no, but
So just very basic.
very basic,
first aid.
yeah,
Okay.
very basic first aid, yeah. But I woke up at night again, I'm throwing up. I don't know what's going on with me. I'm like, okay, well, it's probably just overworking myself, maybe this and that.
Yeah, justifying everything.
Yeah. But then again, I'm questioning, why is all of my other friends, they're feeling good, and they all finished like around 13 hours, and I was at 15 hours. I'm like, why did I take so much longer? Why am I feeling like this? Why are they seem to be feeling a lot better? And then
Did you have any answers why?
no, I did
Any
not.
gut feelings?
I did not. I just thought, maybe I didn't train enough. Or,
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
But, knowing how much hours I put in, but I was still questioning. But then, I woke up next morning, and I was relieved to find out. It was like, well, I knew I had an extra day to stay there. And then I went to the kitchen to grab something to drink, see a paper that somebody slid through the front door. And I was like, what is this paper? Went and grabbed it, and it's a checkout slip. I'm like, hey, I thought I had an extra day because I wanted to rest.
They wanted you to check out that morning, okay.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that I had to check out. So I didn't have any. I had 2 hours to pack and leave. So here I am feeling very...
Did you think to extend it, or you were just like, whatever it is?
I thought, yeah, I'll just,
Might as well,
You
okay.
might as well, I'm like, you know what, I got through a race, I'll be able to drive home.
Okay.
Panama City, see, I told you I'll remember.
Okay.
So Panama City, 8-hour drive normally, except for me, it turned out to be like, 12-hour, 13-hour ride home.
Really?
I'm riding home and I'm falling asleep. I can't keep my eyes open. And I'm just pulling over every couple hours. I'm pulling over and I'm taking a nap. Again, I'm taking a nap. And when it was, I was driving on 45, about to take an exit to Ray Road. It was about a couple miles away from home. I'm driving and I fell asleep.
Behind the wheel?
Yeah, fell asleep behind the wheel. And I woke up from cars just honking all around me. And I woke up in the shock as I'm swirling left and right, and here I am, these cars, everything, and I thought I was gonna hit the curb or I'm gonna hit the car. I pull over, the car that was honking pulls over with me. I'm walking around because I knew I hit that car. I was like, for sure I hit it. Walk around, not a scratch.
Wow. So
And,
you really depleted your system.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very, yeah.
Okay.
And then, so after that, walked around the car. And this guy's like, I'm like, man, sorry, I fell asleep. It's like, it's all right, man, all good. Just come on, man, watch out,
Yeah.
be careful, So
You have a dangerous weapon in your hands.
Yeah. So got home, and it took me really took me probably a good week to get back to normal.
And you didn't think that was strange, or?
I thought it was just exhaustion of the race.
Okay.
I really didn't know what it was. And I took about a week or so just slowly recover, and then I just went back into training. And I knew I was...
What did your wife think about you, this exhaustion and everything?
She's
She
always...
just thought it was part of the process?
She thought, she knew I was crazy.
Okay.
She just thought I was crazy.
Just accepted you as you are.
With everything I was doing.
Okay.
I think I've already... She honestly, to be honest, she wasn't happy with me doing all of that. But I've explained to her how important it was to me, because I've set this big goal for myself to reach before my 40th. And so she knew I would not quit.
Okay.
So she kind of gave up on trying. And so
Okay.
she knew whatever I was going through, she was trying to be helpful as much as she could, but there was nothing that she could do to help me, as I was too motivated, too focused, just too highly driven to quit at that point. Nothing in the world would have stopped me.
Okay,
Nothing. So,
understandable.
yeah, and then here I am a week out. I'm back to training. I'm back on my horse. I'm 2 months away from an Ultraman race. And so actually 3 months, because I was training for 2 months before the event. So here I am, and I went back to training and training hard and spending 3 and 4 and up to 5 hours a day of training. And
And the burning pain, did it come back regularly?
The burning pain came back
Okay.
every single day of my training. For the first 30 minutes, that pain returned every single day.
And you didn't think to mention it to anyone or seek medical care?
I went and I saw my doctor, and he said, well, you probably have some tension in your shoulder. So he advised me to stretch, and that's what I was doing. He said, well, maybe try starting out slower, maybe doing this and that. I never thought, and nobody ever thought, that something else
Because you were so young and so fit, that's why, yeah.
Yeah, nobody knew that there was a bomb ticking in my chest.
Okay.
But I really thought there was some kind of a tension, and I just took that as I just gotta stretch, gotta start slow, and then keep up. And I would, first 30 minutes I start slow, and then I go up a couple, 2-3 hours of workouts, and it goes away, and I just get back to my normal thing. I breaking through the barriers, my mental barriers, getting to that high, getting to that dopamine, and I'm just all driven, highly motivated, and this is what's carrying me. And I got this big goal, and like I mentioned previously, whenever I've wanted to achieve something, I always already envisioned myself there. And then all I wanted to do is just bring my physical body there, because I was mentally already there.
I understand that. Yeah, so, that's what I do too. Yeah.
So that was just how I was rolling, and I was already envisioning I'm doing my Ultraman race. All I have to do is just do another couple months of training, and I'll be there. And so that was just the process of carrying me there. And that's how we went on for 2 months. And then here comes a day of December 13th. So December
2024.
Yeah, December 13th, 2024.
And one more thing, was that the only symptom you were experiencing, the burning pain to your right arm and chest? Or is there anything else that was different?
Besides that, it was probably just abnormal feeling of like you feel like there's something you're not feeling very healthy. Like you almost like there is something else, but I didn't really question it. I didn't know what to look for.
Did you have any like gut feelings, impending doom, all those things that people talk about? It was just completely normal life.
Yeah, it was fine. It was normal. I accepted it as just
part
another challenge, just a part of the process. Yeah, I didn't think that there was something else. I knew that there was pain, but again, the amount of pain I've been through before.
You were going to be an overcomer.
It wasn't anything new to me. So like for me, it was just like I got to set my brain to be able to overcome that, and that was it. So December 13th, I had a scheduled, was a swim. It was a 4,000 yard swim. It was a little over 2 miles. And here I am. I just started swimming like normal. Just started like a normal day. Except that morning, I was usually start my swim at 5 a.m. That morning,
you're dedicated.
Yeah. Well, that morning, I started to get out of my bed, and then my wife pulled me back, and I was like, okay. And I usually kind of, okay, if she does, I'll go back and lay there for a minute or two, and then I'll get up and go. And this time, she pulled me back, and I ended up sleeping for 2 more hours.
So you fell back asleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fell back asleep, and
So a break in your usual pattern.
Yeah. So I show up to a gym, and I show up at 7 a.m. And at that time, there was, so we are in a gym, there's 2 pools. There's a warm pool and there's a cold pool. In the warm pool, they were having an aerobics class that morning. And I remember swimming, and then I remember people coming in for the aerobics class. I think they came in around 8 o'clock, so I was probably almost an hour into my swim already. So I knew I had probably another 45 minutes or so about to be done with my swim. And I was just doing my thing. And as the trainer later explained to me, he said he came in, and his name is Chip. He was the guy that was training this class.
The aerobics class.
Yeah. He said usually, this was Friday, he said he never came in on Friday to train. But that day, day prior to that, somebody called him and said that they was not able to come in. So they called him to see if he was able to substitute. He said, like, I'm not a morning person, but okay. He said, I felt like I needed to be there.
Reluctantly agreed, okay.
Yeah. So agreed, he showed up and he was there for that class. He's like, I saw you swimming, you had a very strong stroke, and he didn't think nothing about it.
I wasn't worried about you.
Yeah. So I was towards the end of my swim, and as I was probably had a few more laps left, and then something happened, like the pain that I've experienced at the beginning of my swim, that burning pain, which I've never experienced before. That pain never returned. It would start in the beginning of the workout, it would leave and never come back. Well, that day, towards the end of my workout, that pain came back. It was something completely unusual, because I mean, it's already 2 months of this pain. I already got used to it. It was normal.
So breaking pattern.
Pattern, like this pain returned. And I was like, what's happening? But I told myself, well, it's okay. This is just the
almost
normal.
done.
Almost done. I'm almost there. I only had few more laps left. I'll finish it. I'll get it done. And then I start swimming, and I feel like I don't know if I'll be able to get across to the other side. It was just these questions started to go into my brain. I'm starting questioning myself, which I
usually... What do you mean you don't know? Like you didn't have enough power or strength?
I don't know if I would. Yeah, it was starting to get blurry in my eyes. And I was like, what's happening? This is very abnormal. This is very unusual. This pain returned, it's burning, and I'm getting weak, I'm getting lightheaded, I'm feeling like I'm gonna start vomiting. And I don't know if I'll be able to get to the other side. And I'm just like, no, you can do it. I'm telling myself, you can do it. It's only a few more laps.
Using your mental tricks.
Yeah, using my mental tricks. I start to swim from one side to the other side of the pool. And as I start to swim, these thoughts, like, they're becoming louder, and they're becoming like more persistent. Like, no, you're probably not going to be able to make it to the other side. And I'm like, no, I will. And I'm already telling myself,
you're a stubborn man.
I'm like, I'm already there. I already envisioned myself on the other side. So I told myself, you're already there. You just have to bring yourself there. And so I start swimming, and then all of a sudden it just gets dark. It gets dark in my eyes, and all of a sudden I'm like, I don't know what's happening. And as I'm experiencing this unusual experience, this like sensation, this like craziness going on, this thought came through my head, and I was like, is this it? Like, I've never ever questioned myself during all of my trainings, during the hardest moments of my Ironman race, when I was running, when I was completely depleted, when I was feeling like I'm gonna pass out. I've never had a thought come across my mind that would tell me like, is this it?
Like, you mean
Like,
death?
am I gonna die?
Ah, okay.
Like, is
okay.
this it? And then the next second, I was like, no, that can't be it, because I've always imagined death was such a crazy thing. Like, it's like you're breaking through some kind of wall. You know, we are imagining like if somebody's dying, they're probably going through some kind of like, I don't know, something unimaginable.
Yeah,
You know, like
yeah.
some kind of. But then the next second, I started feeling so light, and this lightness, and I was like, oh no, that can't be it. That can't be death, because death, it would be something crazy. It would be unimaginable. It would be something like you're breaking through some your pain, your
different
agony, like
dimension,
this something
different
crazy.
experience,
This can't be it. And all of a sudden, I'm feeling so light.
What do you mean
And
by light?
A light was like all the pain left, all of that burning, everything that I was experiencing. The next moment, I was like, whew, everything's light. Like I'm
Light buoyant in the water, or light, what do you mean?
light in the spirit, light in my body. There's no pain, there's nothing. And the next second, this like quick thought like runs through my head. It's like, oh, finally, I'll be able to finish my swim. Yeah. But then again, like this persistent thought, like, oh no, this is it. And I was like, no, that can't be it. That can't be it, because I'm feeling so great. But then, like, I didn't know where I was at that moment, because I'm still feeling like I am swimming, I am doing something, but mentally I'm already somewhere else. I'm already talking to myself. I'm no longer like, I'm slowly starting to think less about the swim and think more about where I'm going or what's happening to me. And this like transition, this happened so quick, where I didn't really realize when it happened. But as it was happening, I was like, if this is it, then I've collected everything in myself, everything that I've had in me. And in that moment, I just cried out. I said, God, please help me. But it wasn't like a regular cry. It wasn't like just like, some mild, like, tone, like speak. I wasn't even speaking. It was inside. It was just the inner voice. I said it in my head, but I said it with such power. I said it with everything in me, like the whole life depended on those words. It wasn't like any light form.
You were realizing that
I
you were
was
dying?
realizing
And you didn't want to?
I was
Okay.
realizing at that moment that something was happening, and I was about to leave.
Okay.
I was about to leave, and I was like, God, please help me.
You weren't ready to leave.
You know what? I wasn't thinking about it.
Okay.
I wasn't thinking whether I was ready or not.
Okay.
But whatever was happening to me, I knew I needed some help.
You were just fighting for your life.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I wasn't saying this as like, if there was ever a time in my life that I really cried out to God for something that I knew that there was nothing in this world that could help me, it was that moment. It was that one moment that in my whole entire life, I've never cried out to God as I did in those few seconds.
Okay.
And when I said that, I knew that there was nothing in the world that could help me. There was no amount of achievements, no amount of accomplishment, not a person in the world that was going to be able to help me.
So this was an understanding you had. So it was like a downloaded understanding, or how? What do you mean by you knew?
It was supernatural,
Okay.
something supernatural, because I wasn't thinking about anything. The only thing that came into my head is, God, please help me.
Okay.
That was like nothing else came to my mind. I didn't think about my kids. I didn't think about my family, my accomplishments, my business. I didn't think about some influential people that can help me. Nothing. The biggest influence in that moment, it was God. And it was, God, please help me. That was the biggest. There was nothing. There was nothing else that was bigger than that.
So you tapped into some sort of a truth.
I tapped into
Okay.
something that I knew about. I mean, I knew of God. I'm Christian.
Yeah.
I grew up in a Christian family. But the level of what I was going through, and at that moment, there was nothing that was going to be able to help me. Yeah, and then the next moments, I felt as I was leaving my body. My
Really?
body was staying behind, and my spirit was rising.
How does that feel?
It was the most supernatural feeling ever. I knew, just like I see you right here, it was so real. As you are sitting here, it was so real. I knew my body was staying behind in a pool.
Were you seeing it physically, or you
I
just
wasn't
knew?
seeing. I wasn't seeing. I know, like some people say that as they rise up and they see their body. I didn't see myself, but what I could
You had
feel.
knowledge about it. Okay.
I had such feeling that it was more than what you can see with your physical eyes.
Really?
I could feel everything. I could feel the taste of everything. I could feel the colors. I could feel, it was the feelings that I had. It was more than what you can physically see.
Really?
It was more than
Wow,
having
that
you
sounds so
physically.
trippy.
It's seriously, like I cannot express the realness of it. It was so real. I was there and I was rising, and there's these high ceilings in that pool, and I was rising as a helium balloon. I was being lifted to about halfway into that ceiling, and then if somebody was just like grabbed that balloon and held me in place, and in that place, it was the most surreal, the most beautiful, the most ever feeling I've ever had in my life. It's the feeling of joy, the feeling of peace, the feeling of serenity, the feeling of just lightness. I was feeling all of those feelings,
That sounds wonderful.
and they were so beautiful. When I was there, I could feel like I could think about love, and I was like automatically feeling love. I could feel about joy, and it was like overwhelming. Like I would turn it into joy. I would think about peace, and I would turn it into peace. It was just like you can think about something, and it would like turn into that. Like you would completely, and then you can think about everything at once, and you would turn it into that.
Wow.
And then you can, and then that understanding of like when I was there, I had no questions about what I was feeling, how I was feeling, why I was understanding things the way I would.
So it was just clarity.
It was clarity of everything. I had no questions like, why am I here? Why am I feeling this? How is this that I can feel all of those feelings at once? How is it that I am experiencing the feeling of joy and it feels exactly like this? I had no questions. I had 100% understanding, 100% like knowledge of everything. It was just the most undescribable feeling ever.
What about bad feelings?
I have no bad feelings. And when I was there, I did not want to go back.
Worry, anxiety?
Nothing. I wanted to be there. I did not want to go back. I wanted to stay there. And as I was there, I had a clear like understanding, as if like if somebody would let go of that helium balloon, I would like rise up higher and higher, and I would go to the place, the most undescribable place ever. It was the place, the most peace and joy.
Vision, did you actually see someone holding you, or was it just a sensation?
No, it was just sensation.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see like physically somebody holding me, but I 100% understood that somebody was holding me.
Okay.
So like what I'm saying is like I didn't see it, but I knew 100% what was happening.
Some data field.
Yeah, it was exactly what was happening. I knew like there was not a single % of doubt in my mind about what I was feeling, what I was experiencing.
Wow,
and
that
it was
sounds
like
amazing.
And I was sharing with family members, and like I grew up in a kind of family where religious family, and it wasn't, the understanding was a little bit different. Our understanding was that if there is a smallest sin in your life, and if you were to for some reason die and you didn't repent of that sin, then you would not go to heaven.
The pearly gates would be closed.
Yeah. But I've shared with family members, and as I was sitting in a circle with family members, I was sharing this like, maybe somebody needs to hear this. And I said, what I want to tell you is this, and this is nothing can take this away from me. Nobody can take it away from me, because what I lived through is 100% mine. And when I can tell you for sure that I've had sin in my life, when during what was happening with me during that time, I wasn't like perfect Christian. I wasn't 100%.
You had unrepented sins.
Repented from all of my sins. I wasn't like just this holy person, and then God just took me over there and showed me this place. No, I was like a regular person. You know, and for all you know, I've had more sin than anybody else. You know, but when I was there and what was I experiencing, I can tell you 100% that if somebody would let go of that balloon, that I would go to the most beautiful place in my life, that the most undescribable place.
Okay.
And the place was not scary. The place was not dark. The place was not something that I was afraid of going. It was the most undescribable place.
Home.
And that place is where I wanted to go.
Okay.
And so maybe this will encourage somebody else, because I've always had this 1% of fear, 1% of doubt. And although like I was raised like that, the past over a decade, I was going to an American church and the understanding was different. I started to understand things differently, but there was always this like a small percent, a 1% of me that was thinking, what if, you know, what if this was true?
Yeah.
And then what God showed me was so big, and the understanding of His love and why He came, and the whole purpose of why He came, because we're all sinners and we couldn't save ourselves. And if we were able to save, then we would be saying, God, you know, thank you for coming, but no, thank you.
I'll take care of myself.
I can do it myself. You know, I'm gonna work hard for it. You know, but no, that's why he loved us so much. And that's why His love is so big.
It makes sense, because you can have a lot of unrepented sins that you don't even know about, like thought processes that you don't know that are a problem.
And I want to be clear too. I'm not encouraging to live in sin. I'm not encouraging that you have to be like, you can live whatever life. And but I'm just talking about, like, you know, your everyday kind of small things that, you know, obviously if you have big sin in your life, you better get right with God. But I'm just talking about the everyday walk of life. You know, we all walk in sin. We live in a world filled with sin. And you know what God did showed me that you don't have to live in fear, because when you live in fear, you can't actually serve God from your heart. When you live knowing that God has you, then you actually serving Him from the place of being grateful, from the place of gratefulness instead of the place of fear. That's a different way of serving. You know, you're not like, you know, you're not doing it because you're like, oh man, or
the big man upstairs.
What else you gonna, you know, or else you're gonna throw me in the fire. But you're doing it because you truly love God, because you understand what He did for you.
Okay.
And that's a different way of serving God.
So did you have this understanding mentally before?
I know, you know, like I said again, I've grew up in Christian family, and I've known God and of God, but I've never had this understanding.
Okay.
I never tapped into this of a deep understanding. It's just, it was always there, but not at this level.
You didn't really get it.
No.
But now you get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're floating as a helium balloon. Then what happens?
And then the next thing I know is.
Wait, so you said you wanted to go to wherever that place is?
I wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah. I did not want to go back.
Did you think about your family, or
No.
did nothing like that cross your mind?
Nothing.
Did you think about how young you were?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. There was nothing. Like, there's nothing that I was thinking of. I was just experiencing the most beautiful feeling, and I wanted to be there. I did not think about anything.
Okay.
Nothing. Like, that's why another understanding came to me that whatever we do in this world, no matter how much value we are putting it on whatever we're doing, at one point none of it is going to matter.
Yeah.
So
you can't take it with you.
Yeah. And so it makes a difference on how I look at things now, because priorities do change, because I want to be able to focus on what matters. Yeah. Okay. And so as I was there, and then the next thing I know is just pounding on my chest. I opened my eyes, and I could kind of hear it and see it through the blur in my eyes. Could see some people moving around, and I could kind of started
So you
to
were
hear.
in this blissful state, and then the next thing you know, it was just
Yeah.
the physical
Yeah.
sensations to your body.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next thing I know is just this pounding on my chest. It's just like the feeling. I mean, the contrast was insane because it was like as if somebody ripped me out of heaven and threw me back down on earth, and it was just stomping all over me.
Oh,
And it was I opened my eyes in this chaos, and it was almost like disappointing, upsetting, but
Who was responsible for
yeah.
bringing me back?
But it was at the same time it was beautiful because I knew I was back to life, but I was confused. I was still experiencing kind of like where I just came from.
Those sensations,
The
the
sensation
feelings.
where I just came from. But then I opened my eyes and I'm here, and then I see people, and I know that something is insane going on with me because people all around me, they're like yelling and screaming. They're like, he's back, and then like EMTs arrived, and they're like, I hear all these noises. I can't make sense of it all, and they're asking me questions, and they're just trying to get to me, and they're doing the CPR and the pounding on my chest, and all of this is happening, and I just opened my eyes in this chaos, and I remember they're still pressing on my chest, and they're pressing so hard. Like, I mean, 3 weeks later, I was still in pain, but they were pressing so hard, and I just wanted to tell them, stop, I'm back already. I opened my, like, you don't have to, and I felt like they were gonna break my rib cage, but I couldn't say anything.
Why?
I couldn't talk. I don't know. I wanted to throw out. As soon as I was back, I just started vomiting, and all the water was pouring out. So later I found out that Chip had told me, and the first thing I've asked Chip, the guy that pulled me out, I was like, Chip, why did you drag me across the pool to the other side? Because I knew I had finished on the other side. And he's like, I didn't drag you. I just pulled you out from this side. He's like, you didn't finish. You didn't actually finish the lap.
So in your mind's eye, you finished, but your body stayed behind.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that answers the question. So I transitioned somehow during the swim in that lap. I didn't even know how it happened. But in my mind, I knew I finished that. I knew I was on the other side of the pool. That's why I asked him, I'm like, why did you drag me across? He's like, no, you actually were right here. You finished in the middle, like a little bit past the middle.
So Chip saw you?
Yeah, so Chip saw me. He was in that class, and he explained later, he said they just finished the class, and then he went over to talk to somebody, and he looked over with a conversation with somebody else. He looked over, and he saw me flapping in the pool. Like, before he saw me swimming with a hard stroke.
Yeah.
And the next thing he knew, I was just flapping in the middle of the pool, not able to swim. I was just flapping. And he said, I was trying to get over the rope, because there's these ropes, and he said, and I guess I was trying to get over the rope, and my head was in the water, and I was just flopping in the water. And so that's how he found me.
So he sprinted into action?
He quickly jumped in, pulled me out. Turns out in that class there was another lady. Her name is Jennifer. She's a nurse. She has a 30 years experience as a nurse.
Wow.
And she happened to be there.
Okay.
She ran to me as she saw that Chip pulled me out, and so they pulled me out. He said he touched my pulse. I had no pulse. And he looked at me and said, your eyes rolled back and you turned blue.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So you literally died.
Yeah. He said, had no pulse for 45 seconds.
Wow.
I was unconscious for about 12 minutes. And so they were working on me on this whole entire time to bring me back. And
what about, I have a question, the 5 a.m. swim. Is there usually a class nearby at 5 a.m.?
No.
So you would have been by yourself?
I would have been by myself, yeah.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah. So Jennifer ran over, saw me, and they quickly, she told him that she's a nurse, he said that he was a combat medic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You
And-
had the whole crew
yeah,
there for you.
Yeah, and he had a 20 years experience as a combat medic. And so it was just like the perfect setup.
Yeah.
It was all on time. They quickly grabbed the AED, the electric shock machine, shocked me multiple times, and they started doing CPR, and he said restarted my heart.
So they knew what they were doing.
They knew
basically.
exactly what they were doing. As they pulled me out of the water, he said I was wet, so there was a bunch of people around. They were just screaming, giving commands to other people. Other people were involved, bringing a bunch of towels to wipe me down because they didn't want to shock me. I was wondering, how much volts do you actually shock with? I don't know if you know that or not.
So they did shock your heart.
Yeah, they
rhythm.
shocked me a couple times, yeah.
Okay.
So they told me that they start at 340 watts. I don't know.
Yeah.
So he said they shocked me. It's like you flew about 6 inches from the floor. And it's like
You didn't feel those shocks?
I didn't feel nothing.
Okay. So you were in that blissful moment in the moment.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was just enjoying myself up there. But he said they were trying to put towels under my head so I wouldn't crack my head as I was hitting my head up against the
Okay.
concrete.
Okay.
Yeah, and while I opened my eyes and here I was, I didn't know what was going on, but
So you were unconscious for 12 minutes, you said.
yeah.
But the heart started beating back in 45
They-
seconds.
yeah.
Okay. So you didn't get any brain damage from lack of oxygen.
I did not. Yeah, I've asked Chip, and you as a medical professional might know that too. But I've asked Chip. I said, "How long does it take for brain to start to go
Usually
dead?"
5 minutes.
Yeah, he said after a minute the brain starts to die.
Yeah, what I mean is that 5 minutes is brain death.
Yeah, but after a minute, your brain starts to go dead. And he's like, you were at 45 seconds. He's like, you were 15 seconds away from your brain to start
Wow.
that process of going dead. And so I've later did a research, and I found out there's a 365,000 cases in U.S. only of cardiac arrests in U.S. and
Per year?
per year. And out of that 365,000 cases, only 6% survive.
Wow.
6% out of those people survive. But the interesting statistic is out of the 6%, only 10% survive without any kind of long-term damage, brain damage.
So
Out of
you're
the
in a
six-
very, very lucky small minority.
Very, 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 very small minority. But even something crazier than that, I went on to do a little bit more research and I found out that people that had cardiac arrest and heart attack, there is less than 1% of those that survive. Of the 6%, then the 10% out of the 6, there's only less than 1% of those that experience cardiac arrest and heart attack that actually
Wow.
survive. So when I've been,
You're a very special man.
when I was in the hospital and all the doctors were coming over and they're like, you're a miracle of miracles. And I was like, I didn't know what they were
probably
saying.
didn't understand in the moment,
I didn't
yeah.
understand. Honestly, it was such a blur to me that
So
it
you
took
were
a long
taken
time.
to the hospital, and what did they? I mean, I'm sure they do the testing. What actually happened in the moment?
Yeah. So I had a 95% blockage in my artery. Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's what happened, and
So
there was not enough blood flow.
that exertion that you were doing with the swimming was enough to push the heart over the edge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think 3 factors that probably did it for me, and I don't have any family history of any kind of a cardiac issues, but the mental stress and mental stress at work, because we were doing a lot of volume with construction, and so there was a lot of stress with business, and then the physical stress of pushing your body to the limits, and then on top of that I had high cholesterol which is another factor that causes
But your
that.
weight was within normal range,
Weight,
you said, right?
weight was very
Okay.
normal, yeah.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that was surprising for me too, because prior to this, I was like, how is this? I have a high cholesterol. I always thought that high cholesterol is only for like overweight people. I didn't realize that you can be perfectly normal, no issues with health, and you have a high cholesterol. And so high cholesterol, stress, mental stress, physical stress, all of these things build plaque in your arteries, which over time you can push it to a limit where you're going to get a blockage.
Okay. So if you weren't doing all the training for your races, you don't think this would happen?
I don't think so. I mean, might have happened
When you were 50.
yeah, probably. I mean, it probably would have happened way later.
Okay. Okay.
But
so that kind
I
of just
think
sped up the
I think
process.
I've exposed it a lot sooner for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah.
did they put any stents in?
Yeah, they put a
did.
stent. Yeah.
Okay. Just one?
One stent, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So you're hospitalized. How long did you have to stay in the hospital?
So I got to a hospital. I remember even just being in an ambulance, throwing out the whole way up and whole
Because
way.
you swallowed water?
Yeah, whole way to the hospital, and then getting to a hospital, not being able to get out of the ambulance because I was just still vomiting nonstop. I got to ER, and then I was there from that morning until the evening, and then in the evening they transferred me into a room. So an interesting kind of a moment here that my wife came to work out at the gym at the same time as I did. She came in a little bit later. She was working out and she saw an ambulance pull up. And she looked out the window because it's a two-story gym. The pool is on the first floor. She was on the second floor. She was working out. She saw an ambulance and she looked over. She's like, man, somebody must having a bad day.
Little did she know.
Little did she know that.
And she had like no idea that it could
no
be
idea.
you.
Yeah, she actually messaged
She
me.
knew that you were there though,
She
right?
knew I was
Okay.
there, but I didn't know she was there.
Okay.
She had sent me a message and she said, once you're done, come see me upstairs. And she saw I didn't respond and she's like, kind of strange, because I was already there for a while. So she knew I was going to be finishing before her, so I would come see her. She finished her workout and she picked up her phone and she saw missed calls. And there was some message on her voice message.
That is the worst that a wife can get,
Yeah.
missed calls, especially from a hospital.
Yeah. So she picked up. She listened to the voice message, and the voice message said, "We have your husband. He's doing okay, but you need to come here as soon as possible."
Wow.
And at that moment, she's like, I almost didn't know what was happening. And
Your heart drops.
yeah, and
Now, I had a quick question. So, from your story, it sounds like a lot of puzzle pieces lined up to save your life. What do you
Yeah.
think is behind that?
definitely God.
You think?
There is nothing
the
else.
wife didn't let you go at your normal time.
Yeah.
You had professionals in the pool next to
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
If
So you
one
think
of these,
he foresaw it coming
100%,
and he arranged everything for you?
100%. If one of those pieces were off, if
Yeah.
I came in earlier,
It can't be a coincidence.
yeah, if Chip refused to come in to teach the class. And another coincidence too, Jennifer said she was running late to a class, so she almost bailed. And then she said, well, I decided to stay on track with my fitness and went into a
Wow.
gym. Yeah.
That's so amazing, like how so
Yeah.
many puzzle pieces fit together.
Yeah.
Very, very randomly seeming, but they're
Yeah.
actually not very random.
Very, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so my wife, at this point, she's going through her own crazy shock, just learning about this whole thing, and she's rushing through the front door and going through the front desk, and they're calling her, bringing her into a separate room, and she's in a room with managers and whoever was there, in that gym, and they're all. She's like, they're all like white on their faces and they can't.
Afraid to tell her what happened.
And they're like, don't know how to start. They don't know what to say. And then she said, somebody said, your husband, there's a situation with your husband. We think he's okay, but
We think?
yeah,
Very comforting words.
yeah, we think he's okay. He's in the hospital, and so they kind of give her a little bit of and they're like, "Are you able to drive?" And she insisted she could. So somebody walks her to the car, and
So you had the cardiac arrest in the pool, and so you also drowned then as well because you were
Yeah.
in the water?
Mhm.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So when you were in the hospital and you were talking to all the professionals, especially on the cardiology side, what did they say about your age and what happened to you?
said very abnormal.
Very abnormal,
Very,
yeah.
very strange.
Okay.
They think they're like it's very rare, and so nobody could really give me a clear answer of why it happened and what caused it, and not having the family history and all of that is just, they're like, there's not
Did
many
you ever
cases like
smoke
you.
in your lifetime?
Never.
And I'm assuming with the training, you watched your diet and everything.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the last 2 years, I really changed my diet because prior to that, I wasn't living a very healthy lifestyle. My weight was at 207, and for my heights at 5'10", I was overweight.
Yeah.
And so I started training. I went down to 165 pounds. So I was at
So
the
you're fit.
very fit. I was at the peak of my life. Like, I've never been this fit as I was.
Okay.
I was never, I mean, back in my like middle school and high school, that was my weight of my middle school and high school. I was 165.
Okay.
And for the past 20 years, I mean, I've never been this fit. So I was at the best shape of my life.
Okay. So you're in the hospital. How long did you stay totally?
3 days.
3 days?
Yeah.
And then did you have to do rehab or what?
Yeah.
What did they have a plan for you?
Yeah, I had a cardiac rehab that I went through.
What do you do in there in the cardiac rehab?
Cardiac rehab, it's a program where they connect you to a heart monitor,
And have you exercise?
then you exercise with the heart monitor, and they track your heart rhythms, and they look for any abnormal heart rhythms or anything,
Okay.
and they give you like a range where you can be. But I wanted to just, before we get there, wanted to jump in. As I was in a hospital, my wife had drove into a hospital to see me because she didn't know where I was and what was happening. She came in and she's like, she went to talk. I guess she went in through the ambulance door, and then they told her to sit and wait, and she's sitting there and waiting. They wouldn't let her in first. I guess they were examining or seeing what was happening. And then, at some point, I was already hooked up to everything. I mean, I've never seen this many wires connected to one person. It was, they probably stick into
They're
every
fighting
vein,
for your life.
into every vein, and I mean, I was connected, probably had 2 toes. I had something connected to me.
Pin cushion.
Yeah, and like laying in, like being in this kind of state, going from being at like a pinnacle moment of your life where I felt like I was at the top of the mountain, and then in one moment laying down there not knowing what just happened to you, and then also still experiencing, still like being under this impression of where I just
The
came
blissful
from.
joy. Yeah. Okay.
And I'm just like laying
Sounds
here.
very confusing.
Yeah, very confusing. Yeah. And just laying there, and then the door opens and I see my wife comes in, and just the look on her face, and
Did you start
was-
crying?
yeah, it
Yeah.
was a very, very like emotional moment.
Of course.
Yeah, it was, it was like this moment where you feel like everything you had in your life you lost
And then you
in
gained
one
it back.
moment, and you gain it back. So it was
Yeah.
like the most.
So true appreciation
Oh my
floats up.
gosh, yeah. Yes, yeah. So she came, hugged me, we just cried for a little while. Yeah, and from that moment, I just honestly I didn't know where I was, what was happening, and what was next. And
Kind of lost a little bit.
Lost, and I was just doing all of it, not knowing what's next. And in the evening, they took me to my room, and I was still asking. I was like, I thought I was going home. And I was like, you mean I'm not going
Sir,
home?
you died.
Yeah.
You're not going home.
Yeah. You mean you're taking me to a room? Like, I thought I'm going home. I got a race to go to.
You were still thinking about the race?
I was, yeah.
Wow.
Honestly, a week later after this experience, we went to see cardiologist, and we walked in, and they're, looking over everything, checking, talking to me. And I think I've asked one of the dumbest questions I've asked the doctor ever, and I was like, do you think there's still a chance that I'll be able to do my Ultraman race? Because I was 1 month away.
Oh my God.
Away. I mean, I've already
A goal-driven man.
I guess not. I didn't really process it all the way through yet. It took me some time to process, but I've put in over 500 hours into my training. I've had ridden my bike for thousands of miles. I've ran hundreds and probably thousands of miles. I swam many
You've
miles.
invested a lot into it.
I've invested, and not only that, I've tied my whole identity into this race. And it just because accomplishing this race meant so much to me that I set this goal that I'm gonna get this done before my 40th. And just it was like if I'm not gonna be able to do it, like the whole world was gonna fall apart.
Okay.
It was so much into it. It was me. This race was me. I was this race. Me and this race was one. It was, like I said, nothing in the world would have stopped me.
Why do you think you placed so much value on that race?
I think a couple things is I've always been very high driven in achieving things, but then there was this moment in my life where I felt like I've achieved everything in my life after business was doing great, after I was financially very successful, and I felt like everything that I've ever dreamed of was
So you needed to go to the next level.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there was a day before I started going through all these races. There was a day in my life where me and my wife was sitting out on the back porch, and I've asked her, what was the point of life? Like, what's the purpose of life? And when you question yourself, if anybody ever questioned themselves this kind of question, this kind of means that you've arrived at something. You've arrived where you're unhappy, you have everything, and you're depressed. You have success in financial, you have success in family, you have everything, and you're depressed. And then you ask yourself a question: what's the purpose of life? And I thought the purpose of life was to accomplish such a huge goal that
Leave a legacy.
only was possible in my dreams. And so I've set out this huge, insane goal to be able to accomplish it. And I thought, if I'm going to be able to accomplish, I will accomplish my purpose.
Okay. Okay.
And
I
so
understand.
that's why like
It went very deep.
Yeah.
Okay. And then suddenly it all crumbled.
At assembly all crumb, and I was 1 month away from achieving my dream from this.
So the cardiac doctor didn't give you permission to finish the race?
No, she looked at me and she got mad, and she's like literally, she's like, she repeated already many times, and she's like, I want to tell you one more time, you were dead.
Wow.
And
That's
then,
so trippy to think about.
Yeah. And then she said, I'm going to tell you this, if you're going to be crazy enough to go and do it, if something happens during that race, it's like, I will guarantee you they are not going to make it. And so from that point on, I started shifting my mindset, and I started to think about well, maybe it's not so bad that I'm not going to be able to do this race, because being alive started to
Is good enough.
yeah, exactly. It started to mean more
Different
to
things.
me than the
So
race.
you started
yeah.
having like priority and paradigm shifts.
Very slowly, I would say. It wasn't just like a flip of a switch where everything just shifted quickly. It took some time. It really took a couple months. And the first couple months, and it was difficult. I was going on a lonely walks just by myself, and I was.
And what do you mean by difficult? Did you feel lost, or what do you mean difficult?
I guess I don't know how to describe it, but I was feeling something I've never felt before. I was emotionally very broken, and I was just going on the walks, and for no reason I was just crying, and weird emotions pouring out of me, and I can't control myself.
Well, that was a very traumatic event to
Yeah.
die.
Yeah. And I was just like randomly, just out of nowhere, I feel like I want to cry, or something, or I'm just like walking and I'm breaking down and I don't know what's happening, and I'm going through this, and one day I'm feeling like, oh great, I'm grateful to be alive, thank God I'm alive and all this, and then next moment I'm just like, I failed. I won't be able to do this race. I failed. And it's just like this fight inside of me. Just like it's the fight between the me, the old me that failed to be who I was supposed to be, and the new me appreciating me for being alive. And it's just like these two people inside of me fighting against each other, and one is saying like, look, man, that what you've accomplished is more than you ever thought. Being alive is the biggest accomplishment in your life. And then the old me is saying like, you're such a failure, you're such a loser, you did this, you spent 2 years, you prepped for it, and then you were only 1 month away and you lost it all. And it's hard.
So a lot of emotional turmoil.
Yeah.
How did it affect your family life? Like your kids, the relationship with your kids, or your wife? Or you kind of hid it from them?
I was saying I was going on like many hour walks by myself, and I was just telling them I needed space. And so my wife was very understanding. I was hiding from everybody, my kids. I was trying to be as best as I can, and just to be there.
So just one more question. Some of the near-death experiences that I've heard, that blissful experience that people feel, they when they come back, they report feeling super healed of all their traumas, emotions. You didn't experience that?
No, I was experiencing very different. I mean, my emotions were all over the place.
Okay.
I was very broken and very lost. And I think what contributed to that was a lot of people that came to visit me, and they saw me, and everybody was projecting into my life something, and they were all saying, oh man, look what God did in your life. You're gonna be this, you're gonna be this, and you're gonna go on to do big things and all this. And all I could think of was like, I'm the biggest failure. And
you were experiencing ego crumbling, probably.
Maybe, and what they were saying was not helpful at all. And at one point, I just told my wife, I'm like, please, like, tell everybody not to come. I just don't want to see anybody. And she was good enough to explain to people that I wasn't feeling great. I needed some time by myself, and so. She allowed me to have that time for me to recover. And
a wise woman.
Yeah, very, I tell you, there's a lot of...
So it was about a couple months that you struggled, and then did it start getting better?
Yeah. I think the turning point was, I built it up everything to turning 40. And just, recently, a month ago, I turned 40. And very something that happened on my 40th, is I felt like everything that I built it up to it, it fell off on my birthday.
You got a clean slate.
Yeah, yeah. It was a day before my birthday. I was laying. We went to Wilmington, and we were out on a beach, and there's these big boulders lined up along the beach line, and beautiful weather, 70 degrees. I picked out the biggest boulder, the most comfortable one where I can lay, and I just laying, and I had the most amount of emotion and feeling and chaos and everything going through my head. It was just insane amount of battle in my head. And all I could think of, I was saying to myself, I'm like, tomorrow you're turning 40, and here's that day. You know, this is the day that I was waiting. This is the day.
The pinnacle of your life.
The pinnacle of my life. This is where I tied everything to it. And I was turning 40, and I was just sitting there, and I was actually writing down all of my emotions. And I was just, I wanted to, I don't know, I wanted to write it down. I wrote down exactly what I was feeling. And I just wrote down, here I am laying, and I just wrote down everything I experienced that moment. And I thought, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow, and it's gonna be the craziest day of my life. It's gonna be so crazy. It's just, the whole world is gonna like flip upside down. But I remember this moment from my life, from my childhood, when I was turning 10 years old.
Oh, really?
And when well, I came to my dad, and I remember my birthday, 10th birthday. I came to my dad and I said, Dad, I'm 10, but nothing changed. I said, I didn't grow up. I remained the same. I thought I was going to wake up, and I was going to be taller. I was going to be stronger. I was going to be different, you know. And then he explained to me that it's a process, you know. It's not, you don't wake up. And similar thing happened. I woke up on my 40th birthday, and everything that I built it up to it, everything fell off. I did not have any bit of emotion left. I was experiencing the full just peace in my heart. There was nothing. It was the best day ever. It was the best day that I could think of.
That's so good to
hear. It was just like,
yeah.
It was just a joy and peace, and just like, it was so light. Everything I built up to it, and I just said, why was I feeling like this?
You just kind of let it go. All
Yeah,
of it.
I've let it go, all of it, and it was the day, and I said, wow, this feels so good.
Yeah.
I just let go. And so since about a month ago or so, I no longer have those emotions that I've experienced before. So that's, you know, for about really 3 months,
Okay.
I was really going through a rough time.
So you're in a more peaceful state now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think in the past months or so, I haven't experienced a single day like that. So.
Well, then my next question is, are you starting to rebuild new plans in your mind then?
You know, yeah, I mean, it's not so much of a physical and endurance anymore.
Okay.
I do want to get back to a little bit, you know, just to stay healthy and stay fit.
That is important.
Yeah, but probably a few weeks ago, I went and I've seen cardiologists and did the whole stress test. And in my mind, I thought, well, maybe towards the end of the year, I'll be able to do some kind of a race. Just put a goal so I'll be able to work towards it and stay in shape. But I went and saw him. He asked me, he said, do you have to do a race this year? And he's a sports cardiologist, so he sees all of the sport teams and all of this, so he knows their mindset. So that's why he asked me the question. It's like, do you have to? It's like, because some of the guys who's athletes who experiencing like some type of a traumatic event in their life, they have to. And he's like, because if they don't,
They lose a piece of themselves.
They lose something bigger. So it's like, if you have to, then it's okay, do something, because it would be worse. And because some people really lose themselves if they don't. But he's like, that's why he asked me. It's like, well, and I thought about it for a second. I said, well, I don't have to. I would like to, but I don't have to. And he's like, if you don't have to, then don't do it.
Okay.
And so he gave me the parameters of where I need to stay, how long I can work out. And so he's like, this is your safest place to be. And he's like, for at least a year, maybe even a year and a half. So in about a year or so, I'm going to go back and I'll redo another stress test and we'll see how I'm doing. And he'll let me know how I'm doing at that time. But I said, you have to take time. You're doing good. You're recovering well, but you need to take at least another year to get better. So.
So what about, like, how have your priorities shifted in your life?
Yeah, my priorities completely shifted. You know, I think from the biggest thing in what shifted is this finding this empty space in my heart, which was always yearning to find this purpose in life. And being purposeful in life is, you feel like God gave all of us a purpose. And if we are not,
believe in that as well.
Yeah, and if we are not fulfilling that purpose, we're feeling lost.
Not easy,
Yeah, we can be looking for things, we can be searching for things in the wrong places. And so what gave me this whole different change perspective in life is, what is my purpose? How can I help somebody else? And for me, fulfilling my purpose is maybe using my experience and using my story to help somebody else. Somebody else who's highly driven, who has everything in their life, who is looking for some type of a next big thing, next big achievement. Somebody who's always on a run for something else, but they don't know what they're running for. And they feel like once they get there, they're not experiencing happiness, just like I was. I felt like, you know, I grew up poor, I didn't have much in life, but I felt like if I'm gonna be able to achieve my financial freedom, financial success,
you would have arrived.
I would have arrived, but except when I got there, I was in the most miserable place ever. And that's when I was asking myself, what's the purpose of life? And I realized the purpose of life is fulfilling your calling, what God has for you. For me, for a little over a year or so ago, I started this group, started a mentoring group, and it was more focused on highly driven, how to help guys reach their next potential. And it was more geared towards guys who started their businesses and they didn't know how to grow. And because I already had experience in how to grow their business, I was helping guys to break through to the next level in their business. And I did that for a little bit over a year. It's a group of 10 guys that I was mentoring, and we were just doing Zoom calls. And last summer, or about 6 months ago or so, we got together and we had a nice retreat as well. And so we kept up with this group, which is important. What I was doing was important. It was fulfilling part of the purpose. I think part of the
support and the fellowship,
emptiness in my heart. But what I really started shifting for me lately is not that's important, but what really is important is for guys to realize what is that emptiness in their heart, what is that thing that they are looking for and they don't have. They don't have it within their close circle of friends or family members, or they can't open up because there's people that know them and they're going to judge them. And so what I've started doing recently is just having one-on-one conversations with guys, just randomly meeting and talking to them and just talking about their experiences of life. And many of them have opened up and said that they do feel very lonely, that they have no one to share with. They feel like they've achieved financial success, that they have everything in life, but they're not happy. And so my goal and my purpose is to create a group of guys where it's not a traditional way of gathering together in church and praying for each other, which is all good and everything, but I don't believe that that's maybe working lately. I think getting guys together and getting them together over some kind of a physical activity, some kind of outing where we go together, and we recently I started just getting everybody hyped up on getting mountain bikes, and I'm like,
Okay.
let's get all mountain bikes. Let's start riding bikes.
Okay.
You know, nothing crazy, but just getting out on a trail. You know, grab a backpack, put a sandwich in the backpack. Let's go out on a 10-mile ride. Let's find a beautiful view. Let's sit down over there. Let's enjoy the beauty. Let's look at this whole creation, you know, because we are so busy that we don't have this time.
Yeah.
And then when we are in this setting, guys can really open up, and they can really talk about the wounds that they carry.
That's wonderful.
The things that they really are struggling with.
Yeah, there's a big gap in that kind of support for men.
Yeah.
Women have a lot of support, but men, it's very bleak out there.
I feel like a lot of times they can't open up to their wives. They can't open up to...
Because there's a lot of expectations on them.
Yeah.
They have to be strong for their families. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of men, they're not used to be vulnerable, and being vulnerable and open up actually heals you.
It does.
And makes you a better person. So I'm still in process on this journey, but like every day I want to become a better person. I've recently just set out on a new adventure for myself to take time, at least one day a week, and take that time for myself and spend it specifically to improve myself, to become a better person. So I was like, who created a 5-day work week? How about I work 4 days? How about I take Friday off?
You start a movement to get the work week back to 4 days.
But like, I want to work 4 days, and I want to take Friday off to work on myself, to be a better person.
That's very healthy.
So I can be a better person for my family. A lot of times we get through the week, Friday comes, rolls around, and then Saturday we're still catching up on everything that was left behind. And then Saturday kind of flies by, and then Sunday until about afternoon, and you're already like thinking about Monday, and so you only have half a day really with your mind being shut off. So by taking a Friday off and kind of phasing down that whole work and slowly moving away from all that noise, then Saturday you can be fully focused on your family and doing activities and being present.
So you're kind of slowing down the rat race.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very much. Yeah.
Very nice. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what shifted, and I do really enjoy it. Brings me peace and satisfaction. Helping somebody else fulfills my purpose. I really feel fulfilled when I'm able to make somebody's day better. And
I'm sure your story is going to make a lot of listeners' day better, because it's crazy story.
Well,
and being dead and then coming back, I mean, we're very blessed that we have you back.
I'm very blessed to be here. I'm very blessed to be sitting here and talking to you, for sure. You know, I've never, in my wildest dreams, I would never expect.
Yeah, so God really had your back.
Never thought, yeah. I'm speechless, you know.
Yeah.
But everything happens for a reason, and I knew God. I know God had it all, and I wouldn't want to have it any other way. I'm very thankful to God for the experience that I went through. I would not want to miss out on any of it. If I didn't go through it, I wouldn't be able to be the person that I meant to be.
Yeah.
And so my goal is to really create groups of guys and bring people together and just rethink life, slow it down.
That is a wonderful service to start.
Yeah.
Do you have like a GoFund we can help with?
I don't have
to get that running.
I don't have GoFund, but I'm not the kind of person to ask for money. So I think you know, God's gonna take care of it.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, one thing I want to quickly run back is when you earlier asked me about the rehab program. When I first went into the rehab, and there's all of the older people there. There's like 70 plus, and so all the
they're like, what are you doing here, you baby?
When I first came in, they said, "Oh, I thought you were a new trainer." That's exactly what they said. What happened there was my eyes kind of opened up to a reality that I needed to see, because it went from I don't know how I can do this. These people are so slow. They're barely moving. They're barely working out. To seeing people kind of towards the end of their life, and they're 75, 85, and their priority is not to chase something. Their goal is not to get something bigger or build something. They're all kind of done with their life, and they have this small gap in their life left. And what they talk about is like just staying healthy enough to see their grandkids, just being there around to help somebody. And it made me think, like, time will fly, and at one point I'll turn 60, at one point I'll turn 80. Where do I want to be when I turn that age? And I just never want to ask myself a question, what if I did this? What if I was to do things differently? Maybe then I would have lived fulfilled life. But I want to be able to turn towards the end of my life and say, I'm glad.
No regrets.
I'm thankful that I lived this kind of life.
Yeah.
Like, I want to live full life. And what I realized, none of the achievements, none of the sort of big goals that I've ever achieved and dreamed of, they never brought me back to that satisfaction, to that fulfillment. What's giving me fulfillment and satisfaction is to serving my purpose, to be in line where God wants me to be. And that's what I want. That's how I want to live the rest of my life.
Well, you're very, very fortunate to have this epiphany so young, because most people come to that epiphany in their 60s, 70s, when their health falters and they can no longer do what they want to do. Then they realize how they should have lived their life. So this is a big blessing for you, because you're still young, full of energy, and you can still get a lot done. So
I'm
very
grateful.
nice. Yeah. Okay, anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Well, thank you for taking time
Of
to
course,
interview me.
of course, yeah. I still can't get over the shock that how young you were and how fit you were, and you had a cardiac event. That's actually, it got my brother worried too. He was like, wait, I'm in shape, I work out, I'm in my 30s, what's going to happen to me?
A lot of my friends went to see doctors to tell you that for sure.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess if anybody has questions, they can reach out.
Thank you for sharing your story and being so open. I really enjoyed hearing it.
Well, thank you. Thank you
and
again.
One last question I didn't want to ask you. That floating balloon experience feeling, have you had it repeated, or it was just kind of just the one and gone?
The one and gone.
Okay. So probably just something where we go later, but not experience here.
Yeah, it was one and gone. I truly know that place where I was, it was a transition into a better place.
Okay.
And where I was,
so death is not scary.
No, it's so beautiful actually. Like, I lost the fear of death, and I've shared this before. I said, if I had to be gone tomorrow, I would gladly go. But it would be selfish of me, just because knowing that I have a family. But it's definitely a better place. Definitely a better place.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, Val.
Well, thank you as much.
It was very nice to meet you
so much.
and hear your story.
Thank you.